Hello, I'm paraphrasing. But Wethersfield Police, I just spoke with them again over the phone. They have a hear no evil, see no evil approach to where they recorded themselves falsifying police reports, forging and switching names with an Officer McGee. Officers that used his name and or officers that used his name. He was also and or should have been informed of this. Now these are officers that forge and switch names consciously with the judicial branch. Individually grouped and together, they are methods recorded, crime methods. They are simultaneously recorded, pretending to be against crimes, and using their roles with all locations where they already had crimes. They self-valued and self-value where and how since before our founding parents were born in Wethersfield, Connecticut. There was slavery. There was a pathology of houses and of means to them. Note how the modern roads just fit right into that pathology of homes from here to Russia. Now this is also one of the guys who used the name McGee on falsified police reports 3 times, with more tied to a principal child sex offender. That there are 2 Mendez police, also intercities, on off Fox Connecticut News, on off WFSB, involved with predicate acts delivery system methods, and that are relevant to the method. Now these are people with overt criminal enterprises that are involved with methods on other campuses simultaneously, and that is recorded also. They've been hiding that by lying and covering up things. They've been using crime methods of switching subjects and pretending it's my obligation to write a letter for what I want. I just told them I've told them verbally what I want. Fix all the fake conversations with me, the names forging and switching, and get them onto paper now. And I want them to speak about behavior too, because these are people I've noticed since I was a kid, the same families. I don't know, that pretended other with locations. Completely, and other instances where they made instances where they pretend passions and emotions, and they sequence shifts, and they pretend you were and they use passions and emotions to pretend you know who they are. Then you refer to that instance. It makes it look like you were in a location with them before that. It makes them look like when they refer to those instances where they were in your presence, like, in other words, they just add all their lies and delusions. And criminally foreign influence sequence treatments, finite, active, progressive value treatments. Now, these are also people in the Leahy family that are doctors and nurses and involved with various natures of courts, judges, and a court that offered to have my father do a deposition of former director of the F.B.I. in his defendant capacities. My father sued him as a pro se litigant. And that was in a 2006 district court case, which is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the line of connected predicate acts against me each year, leading up to the World Trade Center attack, leading up to that 2006 case, and since. These are people involved with identity thefts and frauds, recorded remote uses of criminally foreign influence job sites and campuses simultaneously by the same method that also utilizes their lie progressions from the job sites. There's a John LeConche, his daughter, Dawn LeConche. I never had a word of conversation with her in my life. She's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a bunch of DImauros intercities, with Wethersfield Police, with predicate acts through time that are relevant, with judges also, and with people involved with private policing and their family members of Central Connecticut State University that are further involved with drugs crimes and medicine crimes with kids, and with the child sex offenders, and with people that answer phones for the Wethersfield Police. Also fire departments and the campuses associated with them. This is also there are other ways that the judges and prosecutors, like associated with a De La Fera family. He's involved with the intelligence community. They're involved with the intelligence community with predicate acts on identity thefts and frauds. I never had a class with them, though. And they're involved with the uses of all along roads and routes and houses next to schools, houses next to campuses that are involved with this. Because then they keep the identity of the ground locations, identity names. You need to make mistreatments of positive and negative. You need to be a fake theater. Positive and negative treatment. Criminal and seditious natures of positive treatment and of negative treatments. I am not a lawyer, I'm not a police form, I'm not a criminal. It is also evidence that and how lawyers and the bar itself was his delusions wrought and criminally foreign influence premises treatment self-value and remote uses of that in relationship to this, which is uses of all identity of the ground locations, which is uses of all identities of the ground, all names. So they also have the doctors of women in my area and one next to schools that are involved with, and family members of fire departments that are criminally involved with the wire crime methods of the Wethersfield police and the sequence shifts, identity thefts and frauds tied to that. Wethersfield Pizza is also involved with this. And also how they name stack. They brought all these people into the conversation, and then they call the police, and they're forging and switching names with them. Now, so they also had a Wethersfield. They have the parent teachers organization. We have prosecutors, people with the courts that did have wrongdoing and predicate acts roles they forced their kids with through time. The same families. This Leahy family also has his daughter involved with them with predicate acts and with wrongdoing on Facebook. A little girl with the principal sex offenders campus. Now, Rick C.M. Faglione and others, I don't know, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. I barely know like a handful of times. And all times recorded, confessed, and demonstrated associated with the O'Brien family and people with Central Connecticut State University that are also involved with others like a Kerr family on and off religious locations and Kolvinskis, Justin Kolvinskis, and he has a wife, Lucinda, also involved with military, foreign, and domestic, and with overt criminal enterprises, and with predicate acts with databases, identity thefts and frauds roles. I never had a class with in my life. Never had a class with Lucinda. Now, these are people that were also, everyone speaks through others, and they say, oh, this she was. There's an Allison Mulcahy, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by federal criminals, people associated with federal criminals, and the police forms, on and off Fox Connecticut News and the locations next to them. These are also people with medical corruption, all natures of campuses. These are, roles with drugs, crimes, medicine crimes, and simultaneously pretending to be against it. And while they are evidence racketeering, identity thefts and frauds roles. These are people recorded pretending to be against crimes so they can hide sequence shifts relevant to their crime method roles. As a whole bunch of methods and motivations actually recorded on the campuses of each age and nature connected through time. There's a Scalora family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts on my street with police forms, forging and switching names. I never saw him on my street in my life. I don't know somebody Scalora or the Claudia Scalora. She went out of her way to pretend other. She's in one of the people that involved Saudi Arabia families and Kuwaiti families and deans and their family members and Wethersfield police as her family also with the predicate acts on my street through time, even though I never saw Claudia Scalora or any of the Scaloras on my street through time. They were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the predicate acts of the Wethersfield police and intercities and people in the New York police, people on and off the World Trade Center, people involved with Staten Island, people associated with the Bravo network and all the networks, but through their ad companies. And so, in other words, and through their relationships to when people they're making claims about people. They're saying, oh, well, we can't. They're using a crime method of pretending to be against things like false information while furthering it. They're pretending that there aren't exceptions to where and how we could sue the government. We could sue them as individuals for their recorded roles with methods leading up to and in cases against American citizens. And the same thing is happening in other countries. And what it does is keep manifest, propagated, criminally foreign influence sequence treatments, finite, active, and progressive, and identity treatments as syntax nature, therefore as function nature. So we have them incapable of teaching about what words mean in relationship to correlation/discorrelation, while simultaneously needing to pretend other. This is a method that has the short words in the perfect way to explain American history, where and how James Madison is our founding father. He didn't have free speech. Where and how our founding parents, if they told the truth about what led up to the revolution and the people with the courage they had with their syntax, it would have been worse. Because it already had grouped countries individually grouped and together, uses of their names. Individually grouped and together. That couldn't be defended. Uses of positive and negative treatment simultaneously. They couldn't be defended. And afford the short words, native pure, no matter who you are. Using truths that are true always. Not valued being used as lies. And that's increasingly valued having been used as lies. So, all rise. This is worse than elections fraud. So when they use the frame, the correspondence. So we have to. This is inseparable. The branches of government individually grouped and together are criminally foreign influenced, and that's a subject. But that subject is inseparable from how the overt criminal enterprises, the private ones, killers, people next to the body dumping spots, are recorded differentially, kept hiding to need the same sequence shifts, finite, active, progressive lies, uses of other people's names, styles of pretending to be integrity anyway, with opinions/convictions. In other words, when the police department's forging and switching names on police reports, and then they admit they only have one officer with that name. They have two different officers that spoke to me and others. The ones they attached to fake words with the news media, like WFSB. Now, these are people also with Russians and other countries on and off the media locations. WFSB in Rocky Hill, Connecticut. I believe somewhere near Elm Street. On and off all along Route 3 that goes by the state judicial branch offices are people through time recorded with instances of fake positive and negative treatments because of where and how investigators and everyone's value/value progression is used remotely. Right back to all identity ground locations where correlation has the means simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive to discern using what is correlation/discorrelation. Offensively, self-value tactically, criminally foreign influenced, reception of this. And there's methods to it that are self-value bound by one method. And that's what's actually recorded. Now see, what these people jump into my conversations with you, America, and people that with passions and emotions fake, using psychologist terms they can't use in real life because they're fabricating conversations with people to do so. 3 times they forced me into a hospital, Hartford Hospital. They had me fake conversations with a family, one of the families that still has a little daughter of theirs, and themselves further involved with the principal sex offenders campus, with a method/S that attaches little kids to fake locations, fake words, fake times, fake things. Every positive and negative thing that goes down between kids individually grouped together, they're using it to keep collusion with their criminal and seditious natures of positive, not really positive, and negative in collusion. Now, how this is, so originally still, like things like Jim Crow, they have with egg, they cannot defend themselves regarding their takes on history, their glorifications of, and their knocking of our founding parents. They left out, not by accident, the method. They didn't have free speech to counter. That's why we're supposed to have that. That's why they did their method, their counter method. And both that breaching method and their counter method are using the method of what is true always, while as exceptions, while as is its identity as truth. So that's true that the Wethersfield police are involved with riot crime methods, plural. But it is one method that has used that. So former director of the F.B.I, Robert Luskin, and Dillon family, and a bunch of officers that forged and switched names with Officer McGee, with 3 different arrests in different contexts. One of the arrests, they replaced also audio and video with fake transcripts and fake audio and video interbranch on off their locations too, to hide their roles with the then being forced principal child offender and more than and now involved with it. It's got a whole bunch of ways tied to locations on off Town Line Drive, and judges associated with the families criminally involved, like a Phil Cololo, involved with identity thefts and frauds, and with the Scalora family, involved with them with predicate acts on my street through time, identity thefts, frauds, fake locations they've been attaching people of every age to. So please, Judge Napolitano, respond for Wethersfield Police and for Connecticut courts at the branch on off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices also. They have many people like an Enzo Fienza, and they have a Joshua Julian, they have a Joshua Stryker, also involved with timed predicate acts on off the principal child offenders campus near me, and in Wethersfield, and on off the Trinity College at the same time, predicate acts, with people through time that attach me and others to fake confidence, because these locations with a whole bunch of other names used remotely. So that's why they forge and switch names. This is name stacking. This is also relevant to where sense and sensibilities are relevant, because how they bring in the names in, they're bringing in their family members, and then they're bringing up styles of everyone pretending. They're pretending people have allegations that are speaking about what is actually recorded. And the courts that are supposed to be right with words like all words, they're not right with. But like allegations, they're using it to sequence shifts, because they've been involved with locations crimes that are syntax oriented, fact sheet nature, identity oriented, sequence oriented too, simultaneous nature oriented. So the identity of value, so value progression, that inventions work or not in relationship to it. They are further positive or not in relationship to it. So we have criminal insidious natures of positive treatments that are not capable of defending themselves and of affording the protraction of the short words that are capable of evolution's fruits and gifts and revelations proper for each age. And now we need reliefs. And so we need it through the syntax of opinions and convictions. And, so we have to address all the drugs and medicines crimes of the people that are pretending to be against addiction, because because of their roles with the various natures of courts, with the crime methods of fabricating audio and video into databases, of uses of all the crime methods that the lawyers of the medical campuses are involved with, and ones with badges too. And these are people involved with faking passions and emotions, which is critical. So Fox News is also recorded. So please do what's right, and don't delay, because by sustaining it, and they have too many people too quickly. Self-value made to self-value how everyone's criminally foreign influence. Then they pretend you're making conspiracy theories. They brought all these names into this stuff. They brought they confessed, recorded, confirmed that they have the doctors of women and of little kids involved with their predicate acts. And then the little kids recorded, confessed, demonstrated roles with attaching kids from other kids in the same grade but not with the same teacher, to fake location sequence shifts, and to exploiting that intercampuses through time. More and more needed to hide it, and on and off campuses needed to hide it there too. They have this method where they have the people that are looking out for boys and looking out for girls distinctly, using to get over further and further, just to follow the free speech and keep it real. And instantly, little girls have rights, let alone North End of Hartford. Is recorded sickly distinctly how the people from Wethersfield Interbranch are involved with individuals grouped together as victims, to be victim predators, to need to hide that, the same way the branches need to hide that. They blame the perfect world for sake and other things. These are people that are involved with a method that, with the locations and communicate syntax that ties them to houses next to the campuses of each age through time, and uses of that. So we have to counter the identity thefts and frauds that the elections location stewards are involved with, that is simultaneously relevant to where and how people are saying that the president says things with no evidence. They are preventing him from protracting short words, sickly distinctly how they're preventing us short words, so they can force presidents to stay in collusion with them. All locations, areas, states, criminally foreign influence, styles pertaining to care about democracy, all rise. The public wants its campus concentrated value everywhere. That every identity is every place else. One way, wherein how the invisible but discernible is in demonstration to us. Not the opaque, no. Because the opaque is one of the words, as all words, still being used by styles, self-valuing, and identity of negative value, nature, progression. That humanity, therefore the science of why and how we are individual, grouped, and species. Body, invisible but still discernible, a volume/S. And that is relevant to what causes evolution, fruits, and gifts. It means to the positive and negative value nature progressions properly. Can't teach about American history properly when you have defenses of their takes on witch trials simultaneously defended. Those takes are modular per a breaching method that is clear as day. Hear many pray. Boxing. The day and night together show this clear. I teach you here alone. Boxing. So Bravo Network, please follow mandated law. If I ask things that people ask things on Facebook for you guys to follow actual truth, the interbranch, the private tied to them, the news media tied to them, the prisons tied to them, their family members, their neighbors, recorded involved with predicate acts, everyone speaking through others. The recorded styles of logic that can't defend themselves. So increasingly self-valuing sick theories that are like the theory of relativity, used to get over on the identity of relativity, which is actually there to discern. Use correlations / discorrelations simultaneously increasingly inherent active and progressive means, simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously in demonstration of its identity of volume. Its identity of volume is this identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that will discern. So, please help. This is also blocking great things like the Burroughs book. The Burroughs book can help organize for America and for the world by giving, by liberating this method that is already set up. It's just all identity of the ground locations are tactically denatured to keep it from working. The identity of evolution's fruits and gifts, as the Santa Claus. It is more probable that we must add the E to this name clause in address. For example, a clause is relevant as an identity of volume, where and how subjects and verbs are relevant.